as I said, my name's Lisa Jane. I'm from Educators SA. We're the peak body for 62 professional education associations in South Australia, and really proud to be the host on the Minister's behalf for these 3 awards. So it's fantastic to have so many people interested in applying this year. These are an amazing opportunity. Not very often that you see the figure $8,000 on an award for educators, and particularly when those funds can be entirely devoted to your own professional learning. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity. So as we kick off the conversation, at Educators SA, we always start with acknowledging that, for me anyway, I'm coming to you today from the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. And for most of you, I think about half of you, you're similarly located in a metro area, but nice to see people from lots of other traditional lands across SA as well. So the purpose tonight is really just to give you a bit of a sense of the awards if you haven't necessarily had a chance to see the collateral that is already out there. And most importantly, a chance for you to meet and chat with the ambassadors. And tonight we're lucky enough to have the ambassadors for all 3 awards with us. So I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves first of all. Maureen, would you like to start?
I would love to, Liz Jane. My name is Maureen Hegarty. I am currently working for the department as the leader of mathematics and numeracy. And part of my role is to lift the profile of financial literacy, both within the SA curriculum and also to support teachers' insights to develop financial literacy to their best ability.
Fantastic. And over to you, Cherie.
Hey everyone, I'm Cherie Broad, Manager of Arts Projects. I work within the Curriculum and Learning Division, and all sorts of art things come my way, but most of my time is spent working with CARCLU on the CARCLU in Schools program, which is soon to be relaunched, and also Dream Big Children's Festival. We are finalising the program and putting together the teachers resource that's coming out at the end of this term. So I hope you'll keep your eyes out for that.
Thanks, Cherie. Over to you, Miriam.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Miriam, and I'm the Program Manager for Languages in the Department for Education, supporting schools, teachers with implementation of languages from reception to Year 12.
Thank you. Really pleased to have those 3 ambassadors with us tonight. So let's get started in learning a little bit more about it. And what I'm just going to put up on the screen is some information that you may have already accessed, which is the information booklet that's kind of available on the website. So we'll start from there and see where we get to. So as I said earlier, these awards, the Minister's Awards, are part of the state celebrations for World Teachers' Day. Now, if you've never heard of that before, World Teachers' Day is held on the last Friday in October. So this year that makes it Friday, the 30th of October. So traditionally, that event's been going on in South Australia for more than 20 years. And as part of that, there's an awards evening. And so I'm going to say nearly 10 years ago, the notion of some kind of Minister's Awards came to play. And so we're really pleased that at the moment we have 3 categories: arts, financial education, and languages. So the really bonus part, as I said before, is this idea that those awards come with public accolades from your peers and the opportunity to be celebrated for the work that you've already done. But more importantly, it comes with an $8,000 grant for professional learning for you. Or in the case of the Preschool Arts Awards, the professional grant is for your site's professional learning. The other thing about these awards is that they require a self-nomination. So only up to you to decide to put the award in, but you are required to have a recommendation or endorsement from your line manager. And that's really just to allow someone else to talk about the things that they see in your learning and teaching as well. Now on the screen, you can see there are just some key dates there that are important to see. The awards have already been launched. This is the first of 2 information sessions which will be held this year. The second one's coming up towards the middle of this term, and at that Zoom session, there'll be a few of the people who've applied and won awards before, who are just going to talk about the kinds of things that they did in their experiences. So keep your eye out for that one as well. The important date is the Tuesday 29th of September date, which is this, it's due, applications are due by then, but you're welcome to work on them anytime between now and then, as long as they're submitted in their totality by 11 p.m. on the 29th of September. The process on the website, which is where you found the information about how to book in tonight, every page has a section which kind of has a PDF of the survey questions, so you can check it out. But we've tried to make it as easy as possible. Our 2 ambassadors, Cherie and Miriam, have been involved for a number of years, and they would be able to testify that we keep tweaking this to try and make it easier and to help you tell your story best. It sounds silly, but we're really just going to start by saying we would strongly advise that you have a really good read, not during your learning day. Find a quiet spot on a weekend or whenever you've got a break, because most of the information that you need is in there. And there's some really important points that will help you decide what information to privilege in terms of what you share with us, and make decisions about what's the most important, powerful way to tell your story. So the application just repeats what the awards are about. It always tells you what categories there are. So in each of the awards, there are a number of categories that focus on things like primary and secondary or early career. And so it really is important to read those and make sure that you're applying for the category that best suits you. It'll talk about what you receive, and there's an important eligibility criteria. Now, the one I have open is the arts, but they all pretty much have the same. The important thing is that you haven't won a Minister's Award before or an Immersion Scholarship before. And then there are some details in there around where you're working and your willingness to kind of contribute to the celebration and publication of these awards, etc. And then talks about the selection process and how it works. So just so that you know, you submit your application. We then at Educators SA create some panels who are lucky enough to read all the exciting things that you're planning to do. In your application, you need to respond to the questions, which I'll show you in a moment. You need to provide a CV. Cherie, do you just want to talk about, last year you provided some good advice around the CV and tailoring it, and I think definitely keeping it to the 2-page. Do you want to talk to that again?
Oh, yes, happy to do that. Yes, it is required that you put in a CV, because that really does help to paint a more full picture of your background experience, which could be, quite varied for whatever reasons. It gives us a snapshot on like your activity in participating in professional learning and other associations and linked connections you have with your area of expertise. Please do keep it to the 2 pages, and please do update it. Don't just give us a generic CV that's 6 or more years old. Do write it thinking about this application so that you can draw on the most relevant aspects of your background to highlight them.
I'll come to the questions. Thank you, Cherie. I'll come to the questions in a minute. The supporting endorsements are just, as I said before, statements from your line manager, and depending on which award you're applying for, you'll see the kind of definition of line manager is slightly different, but that is really clearly explained in the application itself. The other really important aspect is the professional learning proposal. And this is this idea about what are you going to do with that amazing $8,000? And it's really, I know we don't often get a chance to think about what we might do with $8,000 that could possibly help us be and become the best educators we can be. But we encourage you to really think broadly. On the website, there are some videos which are from previous winners, and where they talk about the places they've been or the experiences they've chosen to do. And over the next month, you'll see some more of those videos being added. So It's a great place if you start thinking and then you're looking for some more ideas, head back there and see what other people have been talking about. And the professional learning proposal, you know, it doesn't have to be totally detailed. What we're looking for, though, is you've really thought about what's going to have an impact on your learning and teaching, what's going to make a difference for you, and therefore is going to make a difference for your children and young people. Miriam or Cherie, and then Maureen if you wish, but is there anything you'd want to add through your 3 hats? So Miriam from a languages hat, because yours in particular, I'm thinking about there are a few people who had kind of the language proficiency question. In the Languages Immersion Scholarship, anything particular you're looking for in the professional learning proposal?
Look, I think it's important that your professional learning is for you and it's meeting your needs. And so if it's around language proficiency, everyone's language proficiency is different and you'll be building on from where you're at. So that's the important thing to nail there. Like, how is whatever you choose to do really going to build and grow your linguistic knowledge and or cultural knowledge through this experience? And that you're really thinking about something really unique that you can get from this travel, that's international travel, which is an amazing opportunity to have through the award.
Thanks, Miriam. Cherie from the Arts Lens.
I would suggest doing some research, giving yourself the time to actually find out what might be out there that you weren't aware of before, because normally you don't think about spending a whole lot of money going off and doing professional learning. So give yourself the time to, I guess, first of all, think about, are there some areas that you want to address? It might be areas for growth or areas of key interest, and look around as to what's on offer nationally and internationally. And then put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. If you're not doing big ticket items, what range of things, whether that's subscriptions, memberships, mentoring, or attending events, what could all those come together as to lead you in your next chapter?
Cherie, I think that's a great point for everyone in all the categories. I'm lucky enough to be the person who in the end ends up having all those professional learning proposals and working with people as they put them into action. And there's a real spectrum. There's some people who take all of those funds and spend it on one event, which they think will have the most impact. And then there are people, as Cherie just said, who put together this kind of suite of professional learning over a year that ensures that they're targeting all different aspects of the things that they think will impact. Maureen, I wondered if you'd comment, because for excellence in financial education, it's slightly different because we know it's in Australia and there's a couple of other options, for example, around TRT and, really building resources locally. Anything you'd like to add from the financial ed perspective?
Yeah, I think obviously because financial literacy is part of the mathematics curriculum, and it's a vital part, but it's still part of it. You might be thinking about it a little bit differently. In the first instance, we really want that financial literacy education to be within Australia, because obviously there is some context involved there. But I would reiterate that idea of having multiple experiences. So it may not be one big ticket conference, but it might be using your TRT wisely for mentoring. It might be that you want to go and see another site to see what they're doing. There's certainly options that we will talk about in the breakout room as to how you might choose to use your professional learning money differently.
Fantastic. Thank you for the insight from our 3 ambassadors there. I hope that's really helped you think some more about your particular category you're applying for. The other thing with the professional learning proposal is we're not asking you to be a travel agent or a conference producer, kind of where it's got all the detailed costings of everything you're going to do for every minute of your development. But what we do need to see is that you have spent some time kind of checking out that the budget works. We had someone, for example, last year who they thought it was going to be this, but then that turned out to be way more expensive. And so they needed to change their plans. And some of those things are unavoidable. But I guess what the panel's looking for is that you're really serious about this. And your seriousness is shown to us by the fact that you've just spent a bit of time thinking about, how can I get the best value We want a bit of financial literacy across every award winner in terms of how can you get your best value from these funds to have the most impact for you and your learners. So I'm not going to read to you things that you can read for yourself, but I think one hot tip, this little bit in red, it's in red for a reason. It's SurveyMonkey, which is lovely and easy to use, but it has one downside, and that downside is that if you want to work on it over time, so you want to have a partially completed application and you want to go back to it, you really need to use the same device and the same web browser on the one that you started. Okay, don't switch devices or you'll lose what you put in there. And there's some other tips there about just making sure you click next at the bottom of the page and it saves. So sorry if if you're a SurveyMonkey king or queen and you're on top of that, but really that is the thing. I think the only thing that people have found frustrating is that they might have lost their information when they've been working on it. Every application talks about who you can chat to, and you're going to chat to those ambassadors tonight. And just to give you an idea, starts with simple demographic information. And then there are things like, if I just pick one question, because this one's common across all of them, tell us more about yourself as an educator, whether that's an arts educator, a language educator, or an educator in financial education from HASS or tech or maths or whichever learning area you're taking that lens through. So I hope that's just given you a little bit of an idea about the process, the application, and the kind of information that we're looking for. The process we wanted to use tonight was to kind of just do this overview and give you a bit of information about the process in general, and then give you a chance to head into a breakout room with your ambassador. Any ambassadors, anything in general that you wanted to add? Okay, Cherie, then Miriam.
I'll just backtrack to when you were talking about the budget. Agreed, we don't need finite, minuscule details, but please don't sell yourself short and run yourself out of pocket by forgetting some incidentals like travel, the things that, and like even say meal allowances if you're away, those sorts of things. So you're not just thinking about, what's it going to cost me to get in the door of that event and the flights, but some of those extra costs around the practicalities of traveling and being away, just so that you don't end up realizing you're paying a hell of a lot of money out of your own pocket to make it all happen.
And can I please add to that, after our experience this year, in your normal life, you might choose to, when you travel, not take out travel insurance, or you might choose to, totally up to you. But in this world, we would really say that this is government money and really important to do that, because as you'd be aware, we had a war break out in one part of the world this year, which affected some of our language people who were traveling. So incorporating the costs of the travel insurance into those things that you might be looking at, whether that's internal to Australia or external, I think is a really important thing to do as well. Miriam?
Two things. Thinking about your professional learning experience, it stands out when people challenge themselves, and you can see that people are putting themselves maybe in not unsafe situations, but uncomfortable situations, and really stretching themselves to learn something new and do something different to what they'd normally do. There is that danger with languages and ones of it coming across looking like a bit of a holiday itinerary and a nice thing to do. So really think about what you can do for yourself to really grow yourself. And the other thing that stands out too in a bunch of applications is when someone's relied on ChatGPT to write their application. Use AI to finesse and refine your writing, but not to write about you, because it's pretty clear straight away, like a job application, not like a job application, but we want to be able to see you, see the person, see the professional, and hear your voice, and really get a sense of you and your teaching, you and your practice, and you undertaking this experience.
And just to highlight that, there is now and I'm going to show it both ways. So there is now in all of the applications a use of AI clause, which kind of just repeats what Miriam has said, but it's in two places in the application. So in the part where you're talking, there's a note about exactly as Miriam had said, we really noticed it last year. We could tell when ChatGPT was trying to tell us things rather than you trying to tell us things. But the place that we found it most challenging was with the supporting statements from site leaders. And obviously for time reasons, site leaders or your line managers might have thought that was the best way to do it. But it's much better to have a shorter one that is really personal about you than to have the standard AI generic that might pop out. So when you're reading the application, you'll find 2 clauses this year where there's some information specifically saying just definitely use it. We know it's a powerful tool, AI, but we want to use it to make sure that we see the best of you. There's just a question in the chat about, in the event that our application is unsuccessful, will we receive feedback or information outlining the reasons? The answer to that is no. And simply because we receive so many, and this is not a formal panel process in that kind of way, we do try to provide perhaps a couple of dot points in the follow-up letters that we send out to people. But in this instance, the simple answer to that one is it's not part of the process. Sheree.
Oh, you've just given me 2 ideas. I'm trying to remember what the first idea was. So I guess about being genuine and authentic. It's about helping the panel to be excited about you as an educator and being able to give you this award to progress your career. So yeah, if it feels like AI, it's harder to get more excited about your application. I would encourage anyone that's applied before, if you know them, spread the word. Or if you're not successful this time, please consider applying again, because applications are only ever as strong as the ones they're stacked up against in that particular round. So, we do get lots of great applications, and we do feel disappointed that we can't give it to everybody. So it is actually quite pleasing when we see them come back, and in that next year, it's like, yes, finally we can, reward that particular person. So please apply more than once if need be.
The other part, I guess, I just wanted to remind people is I know you all found the Educators SA website because that's where the registration link was, but really encourage you to head there. If the information booklet is downloadable from there, that's where the application forms are. But there's all kinds of other things. So, for example, in the Preschool Arts Awards, there's some resources from previous winners that help you get a sense of what might be possible. The videos from previous winners are just amazingly helpful because lots of people say, I would never have imagined going, in the arts, going to the drama school in New York, right? That might not be something you even know about. Looking at the kinds of places that people have been and done, and the experiences they've had here, or the amazing, some couple of people this year had amazing Indigenous professional learning experiences in all parts of Australia. So again, I think use that website to try and get as many ideas as you can. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of quickies from the chat, and then we're going to get into a breakout room. A couple of questions about using a retired principal or your current line manager must endorse you, but you might choose to add if they don't know much about you because they've just rocked up at your place, a site, for example, you might include information from someone else, but the department requires, and when I say department, the Minister's Office requires that that the person that you most closely knows your work, knows that you're kind of lodging and is behind you. The Arts Award definitely includes the performing arts. And the bottom one, just eligibility again. If you've won any of these, so if you've won a Minister's Language Immersion Scholarship, then you definitely can't apply for a Language Immersion Scholarship again. That is a standout criteria for all 3. So just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time to find out more. And as all the ambassadors have said, we're so lucky and privileged to have a chance to read your applications and what you're intending to do. And taking this kind of step is really important to continuing to grow our educators and our education community in SA.